One Jamaicans, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for stopping by. Kindly subscribe, like, and share the video. To my returning subscribers, I truly appreciate the continued support. It does not go unnoticed. Today's video is an important one. We are looking at a parliamentary exchange where Damian Crawford questions the authorities on disaster relief and aid distribution following Hurricane Beryl. Watch the clip carefully and I will be back with my commentary.
Thank you very much, and thanks for the time and the effort and your contribution. Approximately how many communities have had major damage, and it can be reserved to the major parishes? Approximately how many communities do you have that information?
In terms of that damage, we are tracking 182 communities that would have suffered what we would consider Tier 1 and Tier 2 damage. Tier 1 damage is up to 50% of damage. So roof will be gone, roofing elements will be gone. Tier 1 is 65% over to include the total loss of the building.
Around 52 communities.
182 communities.
82. What is the definition of community are we using?
So right now we're using the SDC boundaries for our community.
These communities would have 1,000, 2,000 units in the space based on the 50% damage, Tier 1, Tier 2. Enough houses in the space. They're not lanes. I'm trying to make sure the people understand that a community don't mean my lane, as we have often used a community. It's a fairly large space as a community. Okay. Approximately how many people have been major affected in these impacted areas? I'm speaking now to the 5 major parishes. Approximately how many people?
360.
460.
360.
360,000. Okay, full circle. 360,000. Approximately how many of those have not been assisted in any way to this point?
Based on what I'm tracking, has been our delivery cycle into these communities.
Yes.
I'm tracking upwards of 400,000 persons affected by solely the JDF input or output rather in terms of last mile deliveries. I am not at this moment tracking persons who are in need unaffected. I've seen reports. So for example, even sitting here since evening, I've gotten a report for a particular community where it was said it has not been visited since the event. And when I reached into the team, there were 4 occasions, to include yesterday, that the broad community was visited. So there could exist some gaps, as you mentioned, the SDC community boundaries versus my lane situation. Yes. And there could be a few instances as well within these communities where persons do not attend maybe a particular location within the same community, yes, even in the event that it is being given out. So we've asked him to look more prescript at that. But okay, as it is now, I'm not tracking that we have not been able to affect every community that ought to. What I say is that we are tracking 182 communities, and by the last count, we have been into no less than 280 communities.
I understand. But I'm saying, how many of the 360,000 people that we would say major impact would you estimate have not received any assistance? Or we can ask, how many packages have you distributed from the government side thus far?
You said 400,000, right?
360,000.
No, packages.
No, packages.
Packages. I'm tracking over 115,000 packages.
115,000 packages.
Yes, please.
So it is fair to say, therefore, that if we should say every package goes to a different person, that we still have, is it 115,000?
115,000.
115 or
260 thereabout.
Sorry?
If you times it by 4.
He's assuming that each package serves a family of 4.
That's
how
a package
serves a family of 4.
Indeed.
So based on the packages that you have distributed, you've said that almost every family have gotten a package. By those numbers, not by distribution. By
raw numbers.
Yes. All right. And what is the desired rotation? Because it's food. Food don't have one-off. What's the desired rotation of distribution? I mean, in a week, how many times should a family receive a package?
As we're building the system out now, we intend that on the resupply. So every 5 days, then, or every 4 days, we try to get back into that space.
Every 5.
So aware. We have significant partners on the ground who are delivering into these communities. So the gaps are, as they exist, fairly well plugged. GOJ assets.
Well, the reports, especially in social media, seem to suggest that a vast number of persons have not been touched, while others might have been touched on multiple occasions.
We've seen those reports. There is significant effort to ensure more, equitably as best we can distribute. But what I'll say, in the instances where the NEOC has received these reports or seen them online, we actually seek to verify in a number of cases, is this the case? So, for example, the matter I mentioned just a while ago, we would have been able to verify that we've been in on multiple occasions in different locations within that community.
Welcome to the life of an MP.
I won't hazard mischief, but we do seek to verify whenever we see these cases come up.
In children, has there been consideration given to a child space in these areas? I don't want to say school because people believe it, if it's not a building, it's not a school. So as to have differentiated treatment for children so that they can get food, so that they can get sanitary facilities, temporary showers, medical intervention, psychological intervention.
You're speaking to shelters or communities?
Either way.
What I say is that we will definitely need to look more robustly at that. What I can say is that to the extent that we have caused, for example, the Ministry of Health to go in, they have been looking prescriptively at how they've been treating children, looking at psychosocial matters as well. But we'll definitely have to seek to form a more robust system around just what you've mentioned.
Thank you. How many generators do we have intending to distribute to these commercial spaces?
What I will say is that we have just over 500 generators on hand. As we look at how to build out the program, then we'll make a determination on the numbers we're actually putting out where and when.
Reports I'm receiving is that generator can run you about $6,000 per day in fuel. How would this be paid for?
Well, we're also looking into the fuel supply in terms of supplying jerry cans and so on. It isn't my own experience, and that it cost about $6,000, but the mechanisms are being explored.
If you look at, let's say, $3,000 a day, we're looking at $90,000 for the month. Small shops are incapable to afford that. It might be passed on in food prices and by extension make the thing unaffordable. These are things we have to be preemptive in considering. How are we seeking to choose these entities that will be centralized and given a competitive advantage?
The system is being looked at keenly to ensure the best use case scenario for rebuilding the economy. So the measures we put in and applied, it is being looked at.
Finally, anecdotal information that we have received is that persons are unwilling to leave the grime and the muck of their space because of no legitimate paper of ownership. Meaning a man don't want to leave the community and come back, somebody take where his house was. Is there any consideration of a temporary registration so a person can indicate from a geotag that this was the space that I was?
The extent that we'll have to move persons around, member, then that is a part of the consideration in terms of reducing that information into our systems to ensure that whenever persons are need to move back or they move out, we know exactly where they came from and what they might have been laying claim to.
Yes.
In the case where they can't provide ready evidence of
ownership. If you may allow me, Chairman, is there any strategy or method that individuals that want to share ideas and opinion can do so with the committees?
Having had the question now, I'll see to ensure we have something in place in short order for that to occur. But outside of sending an email question or so on.
Churches are the most geographically dispersed unit available to the society and one of the most trusted as well. Is the church on the committee, and are we thinking of using the church for our distribution centers and even our electricity centers as well, those that remain standing?
In terms of on committees of council, ADRA, which is a Seventh-day Adventist organization, is on committee.
What's ADRA? What's that?
Seventh-day Adventist
Relief Organization
agency, rather.
But you have a way broader network like the umbrella group of churches or the Jamaica Council of Churches.
No,
but
they're not on the committee as it is now. But nothing, we could always engraft them into it.
Right.
And nothing prevents us from doing it.
I'm just speaking to the relationships that they have had with communities and the disbursement that they
can bring.
Yes, that they can bring. Is there a reason why the Adventist was chosen separate from
No,
other
and you
churches?
said they're on the council. What council are you talking about?
Committee. So they're on the Humanitarian Assistance Committee that treats with, after the event, looking at, where we should be delivering aid to, assessments of damages and so on.
Is there a reason why the Adventist was chosen over the Catholic, the Pentecostal, the Baptist?
I couldn't hazard to say at this time. But they do have an organization within them that is peculiar to relief in times like this.
I'll consult with the Baptist to see if they have one. But no, I don't understand the choice. But it is what it is. We understand 6 months might be a period for some of these most affected communities, the electricity. Is there any system for medication, in particular storage, that is in place, especially for persons, diabetes, whatever the medicine that need to be refrigerated? A lot of people would have that difficulty now. Is there any strategy system? I know we have a generator system for the electricity. Is there, and the businesses, would they be asked to host as well for the people? Is there any system for cold storage medication that we are contemplating?
So, not specific to cold storage, extent that there are other government institutions, which would include clinics and so on, police stations, fire, JFB locations. A part of our strategy is to bring those up and give them the ability to treat with having some power at their locations. I would have to probably have some further deeper conversation with the Minister of Health and Wellness, but to the extent that we have been getting the ask to ensure that the local clinics and so on are provided with some form of power that they can treat with, for example, refrigeration, we have been trying to see to satisfy those requirements.
Have we considered ice distribution with small igloos for these persons or any other systems such as those?
We will look at those.
Jamaicans, what you just heard should concern every single one of us. According to the government's own figures, 182 communities suffered Tier 1 and Tier 2 damage. That includes roof gone, partial destruction, and in some cases, total loss of homes. We are told 360,000 people were majorly affected across 5 parishes. That is not a small number. That is a national emergency. Yet when pressed on how many people have actually received help, the numbers start to blur, shift, and contradict each other. We hear about 115,000 food packages distributed. Then we are told each package represents a family of 4, meaning on paper, nearly everyone should be covered. But Jamaicans on the ground are telling a very different story. Some communities say they have never been visited. Others report that aid comes to one section repeatedly while nearby lanes get nothing. And this is where Damian Crawford's questioning becomes critical. He presses them on rotation because food aid is not one-off thing. People have to eat every day, not once every 2 weeks. Then there is the issue of children. No clear child, safe spaces, no dedicated facilities, no structure psychosocial support system. That is not a side issue. That is a failure of planning. We also heard about 500 generators with fuel costs that small owners simply cannot afford. If fuel costs get passed on to customers, food prices go up and suffering increases. And perhaps one of the most disturbing points, people refusing to live unsafe areas because they don't have land, titles, and fear losing what little they have left. That alone tells you how deep the systemic problem runs in Jamaica. Jamaicans, this exchange exposes something very clear. There is a serious gap between government reports and lived reality. Asking questions is not politics. Demanding accountability is not disrespect. When hundreds of thousands of people are affected, clarity is not optional. It is required. Jamaica deserves transparency. Jamaica deserves fairness. And most of all, Jamaica deserves leadership that matches the scale of the crisis. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Are people in your community receiving help, or are you still waiting? Like the video, share it so others can hear what was actually said in Parliament. And don't forget to subscribe for more honest commentary. Until next time, stay safe, stay aware, and stay united.